10 years ago today, the United States of America and the entire world learned the most shocking news in the history of the war of terrorism on May 1st of 2011 whenever President Obama announced that Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, was finally located, captured, and killed, and was brought to justice. 10 years later, though, exactly where are we at currently in this war that we see today? And the whole history will be talked about. Why exactly did this entire war start? What happened? And are we safer today than ever before? Tonight we get to all of that and more in the Gaming Weekly. It was arguably the most shocking news in the year of 2011. President Obama announced to the entire world that after nearly a decade of search and countless of hours of our great troops of scratching and clawing and searching in the Middle East, they found and killed Osama bin Laden, who was at one point in time the most wanted man in the world.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
To recap the entire history, Osama bin Laden was actually put on the most wanted list before the devastating September 11th attacks that took place back in 2001. Bin Laden issued a fatwa, which means holy war, back in 1996 and finally declaring war on the United States in 1997. In 1998, Osama bin Laden would be responsible for the devastating U.S. embassy bombings in Africa, which was the first sign of indication that the U.S. had not just only an enemy, but also a threat in their hands. Due to this, President Clinton at the time put bin Laden on the most wanted list.
We saw its twisted mentality at work last week in the embassy bombings in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam. The United States launched an attack this morning on one of the most active terrorist bases in the world. It is located in Afghanistan and operated by groups affiliated with Osama bin Laden.
It wasn't until the year 2000 when the USS Cole was also attacked by Al-Qaeda, being led by Osama bin Laden. However, the name Osama bin Laden came to prominence on September 11, 2001. That was when 19 militant members of Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 commercial aircrafts. 2 of them crashed into the World Trade Center, which were stationed in New York. The 3rd aircraft crashed into the epicenter of the U.S. military, the Pentagon. And finally, the 4th aircraft crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, when those brave passengers took down the hijackers. Unfortunately, though, nobody would survive.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors.
The attack claimed nearly 3,000 lives, and because of that, then President Bush invaded Afghanistan trying to dismantle Al-Qaeda and ultimately capture Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden is just one person. He is representative of networks of people who absolutely have made their cause to defeat the freedoms that we take, that we understand, and we will not allow him to do so.
You want bin Laden dead?
I want him held. I want justice. And there's an old poster out west, as I recall, that said "Wanted, dead or alive."
Are we ever gonna find bin Laden?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
You're confident based on?
Because we got a lot of people looking for him, a lot of assets out there, and we can't run forever. Just like the people who allegedly were involved in the East African bombings. A couple of them were brought to justice.
Did we ever come close?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
You don't know, or you?
I really don't know. No, I'm not trying to hide anything.
And the Battle of Tora Bora took place in December of 2001, where they were so close in getting bin Laden, but he narrowly escaped.
It's my understanding they believe he got into a vehicle, he moved as far as he could, and then got out and walked across, or was carried across the pass into Pakistan, free and clear. When this is all over and this all dies down, and once we finally do grab Osama bin Laden, I think the fact that we lost him in Tora Bora will move out of my memory, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to those days.
However, things would later take a sharp turn as Bush also invaded Iraq, which drew worldwide controversy. Bush at the time stated that Saddam Hussein had something to do with the 9/11 attacks, along with obtaining and acquiring weapons of mass destruction. But in the end, Saddam Hussein was captured in the year 2003. However, there were no weapons of mass destruction found. However, Osama bin Laden remained at large, and in 2004 sent a warning to the United States that the U.S. was still in his radar. Through the years, many troops would search and search and search for bin Laden to no avail until August of 2010. That's when there was a crack in the case. In short, a courier of bin Laden was tracked, and U.S. intelligence followed the courier all the way to this mysterious, unordinary compound in Pakistan, one that stood from the rest. U.S. intelligence would investigate the compound using drones, although they weren't 100% sure it was bin Laden, as many still believed he was hiding in the Afghan region and not in the Pakistan country. Ultimately, President Obama made the call to raid the compound, and finally, after all the battles, after all the wars, and after all the years, on May 1st, 2011, it was announced that Osama bin Laden was located and killed. So now, it's 10 years later since that symbolic day, and where are we at currently in this war? Sadly, the end of Osama bin Laden didn't end the war of terrorism, as other terrorist networks such as ISIS arose and Al-Qaeda remained. But one thing was certain: bin Laden was the symbol of terrorism, and without that symbol, it weakened the infrastructure of many terrorist organizations out there. Fast forward to 2021, and now President Biden is calling off the war in Afghanistan, making it the longest war in U.S. history. Biden said that on September 11th, 2021 of this year, he is pulling all troops out of Afghanistan 20 years after the horrific attacks that changed the world and started the chain of events we still see today.
I said, among with others, we'd follow Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell if need be. That's exactly what we did, and we got him. It took us close to 10 years to put President Obama's commitment into form, and that's exactly what happened. Osama bin Laden was gone. That was 10 years ago. Think about that. We delivered justice to bin Laden a decade ago, and we've stayed in Afghanistan for a decade since. Since then, our reasons for remaining in Afghanistan have become increasingly unclear, even as the terrorist threat that we went to fight evolved. Over the past 20 years, the threat has become more dispersed, metastasizing around the globe. Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, al-Nusra in Syria, ISIS attempting to create a caliphate in Syria and Iraq, and establishing affiliates in multiple countries in Africa and Asia. With the terror threat now in many places, keeping thousands of troops grounded and concentrated in just one country at a cost of billions each year makes little sense to me and to our leaders. We cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal and expecting a different result. I'm now the fourth United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a fifth. After consulting closely with our allies and partners, with our military leaders and intelligence personnel, with our diplomats and our development experts, with the Congress and the Vice President, as well as with Mr. Ghani and many others around the world, I've concluded that it's time to end America's longest war. It's time for American troops to come home.
Well, there are 2 sides of every story. A lot of people have been saying over the past couple of weeks that we should indeed take out our troops this year, stating that there's nothing left for us to be done. Consider the fact that Osama bin Laden is dead and Al-Qaeda is severely weakened. However, others are also claiming that there should still be a presence of U.S. troops, as many people fear that terrorist networks such as Al-Qaeda may arise without the presence of U.S. troops. Regardless of what will happen, though, there is one thing we can all say. Osama bin Laden's death left a huge mark in history and the largest turning point in this war in favor of the U.S. And the world is a much safer place without bin Laden at the helm of the group that carried out the deadliest attack in U.S. history. From the Gaming Weekly, I'm Adrian Matt.